Hey, you're back with the Personal Development Unplugged podcast with me, Paul Clough, breaking down really complicated old things and making them, well, simple in a way that we can get the results we want without being, without people making them so complicated. Let's do things easily, that's what I say. And so did old Albert Einstein. Anyway, today, this episode is all about learning to deal with an issue in a completely different way. I don't believe it's been done before. Not this way anyway. I may be wrong. I probably am. Normally am. But I don't think so. Not many anyway that do it this way. And I think it's really good because we're going to learn from a completely different context of looking at an issue. Now, if that's important to you to be able to just change an issue by listening and thinking, well, you're in the right place. Would that be of interest to you? Would that be important to be able to change just by listening? I think so. That's why I did it. Anyway, have a listen.
Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Hey, my friend, back again. And together today, I wanted to share something with you. Share something that, well, basically I'd shared or shown with other people before. And it's all about learning, but learning from something completely different. A different context, as it were, a different perspective. And, well, I didn't know if you know, or I don't know if you do know, that I do a lot of coaching calls on the internet. Lots of people in different countries. I also do coaching calls for my son, Joseph Clough, for his rapid emotional release protocol. And what's that, you might ask? Well, it's a mind mastery course. It's all about mind mastery, complete confidence mastery, but more importantly, rapid emotional release, because we all have issues that we need to get rid of. And the program is absolutely awesome. And 4 times a month between Joseph and I, we do a live call, a live Q&A, as it were, or a teaching call to the group. And part of my last call, I talked about this, learning from a different perspective, but learning how to look at your issue. If you have an issue, and we've all got issues of some kind, haven't we? Doesn't have to be big, but we've all got an issue, or issues that we'd like to change, something that we do that we're not quite happy with, or something we're emotionally experiencing, which is slightly negative. And something sparked my imagination, my curiosity. Say, learning from a different perspective, learning from a different context, learning from something completely different. Now, what I've done is I've just taken this little part out of that live coaching call to give you an experience of the live coaching call, but also I felt this is such a good process to explore, to examine that issue that we have. So if you have an issue, and we've all got an issue, what I'd like you to do is bring that issue to mind and get curious while you're listening to this replay, as it were, of the live call. Because I think if you follow this, call it a process, a protocol. And I don't think it's, as I say in this, I don't think it's a protocol that's been used before. It's something that has evolved in my head. But you'll notice as you go through it and you're continually comparing your issue with the questions I ask, you'll find that issue will change. That's what I think will happen. In my experience, that is what's going to happen. So remember, if you are going to do this, bringing that issue to mind, I'm a therapist, but not your therapist. So just do what you think is right for you, but also make sure that you're not driving or you're not in charge of any machinery, because it's not hypnotic at all, by the way, not hypnotic at all. I'm going to do a hypnotic process for us, But this is not hypnotic, but it does mean you need to think of various things. And ideally, you might want to write some of the answers down. You don't need to, but if you just, as you're thinking, to me, when I was thinking about it, I would just drift off a little bit. And you'll notice, even when I'm talking on this call, there's a few slightly longer gaps, not huge, but where I suddenly go off in my head a little bit because I'm thinking about the process as I'm going through it. It's really, I just find it such an interesting process, all spurred off, or spurred, all created in my mind, put it that way, by a YouTube video of an artist drawing a digital artist, drawing a comic figure, but in such a different way. Weird it is. So don't be put off that by it, by the way, because it's just weird. Weird that my mind suddenly jumped to this. How can I use this? This is going to work. This is really interesting. So I think you'll find it interesting too. So without further ado, let's get into, well, this live call with this, maybe, I say in the Q&A, that I don't think it's a brand new protocol, but I don't know of it happening before. Anyway, let me know what you think. Go through it, and then I want to catch you up just as you're on your way out, as it were. Have a listen now. And, surprise, surprise, that leads me onto this lovely page of wonderful, not perfect, but they're very artistic, notes. I'm sorry, I have these little laughs in my head. Now, how I came about this little thing was, there was two things collided in my head. The first one was, I think I was reading something. I never know whether I'm reading or hearing, but I'm sure I was reading something about how a lot of people, especially geniuses, will solve a particular problem by looking at something which is totally not the issue, not the problem. And notice from a different context, maybe a completely different thing, because their interests are all over the place, how you can take one context and apply it to the issue. And by taking that, it completely gives you another view, another perspective. I don't know what's over there, perspective on that issue down there. So that was one bit. I'm thinking that's really interesting. But I'm thinking to myself, maybe I'm a little bit too tunnel vision and then I was watching, as I said to you a little while before, one of my things that I was getting disappointed with because I wanted to spend more time trying to get back into art, bit of drawing, sketching. And I was watching this particular person do some art on, like a graphic artist. And he was doing it on, it was a graphic artist with a pen that comes on the screen and Photoshop and things like that. But he did it in such a weird way. And I thought, well, and when I say weird, he would just scribble. And he was doing a head and chest portrait of a fictional character. And you saw the end one, what it looked like in the end, very briefly. It went, click, that's what we're going for. That's what I ended up with. But he was doing all these squiggly lines, and he looked like a ball of wool untangling. But you could see it, and he was and it was all over the place. And I thought, this is so random, so vague. And I thought, seeing how he built this up, two things he was doing. He slowly built it up, but he started from vagueness. So I thought, what would happen if we had an issue, but we didn't dive into the issue really seriously, really deeply straight away? That we spent a little time being quite vague about it, just like teasing this ball of wool. So, and I was watching, he was doing this sketching, and it was slowly coming. And then he'd say, let's flip it. And he would literally take because it's on a computer, he would flip. So it was left became right, right became left. Because he said, every time you flip it, you can see if that picture is in proportion, if it's in scale, if it's in harmony. Oh, this is all my language now. And then he'd flip it back and carry on doing a little bit more. Then he'd rub out and get a little deeper, get a bit more detail. And I thought, what a wonderful way to do a process. Because if you've got an issue, maybe and this is where the stopping and the pausing came through. I thought, well, maybe we could just think about our issue differently. And very randomly, just think about our issue. And so instead of scribbling like that, we would just throw a few words on a piece of paper. And I thought, just make some random comments. So things like, I wonder what context this issue comes in. Well, what different areas of my life does it come in? So it affects me over here, I know, but does it affect me anywhere else? Oh, it affects me a little bit of work. So maybe a 5 out of 10. Oh, when I'm socialising, it comes down again. And then you go, well, who maybe is connected to this? Who comes to mind? And just very quickly, oh, they might, yeah. Where does it generally happen? So you've got the context, but is there a specific location? How long does it last? How long have I had it? How long do I remember having this feeling? Just little feelings. We haven't delved into anything yet. A bit like brainstorming, but I don't like the word brainstorming. So we just make a few notes. And then, taking those notes, I thought, well, what would happen now if we flipped it? Just like he did with the picture. And I go, well, when we flip it, let's just think, what is it about those contexts that connect me with this issue, this feeling maybe? So what is it about those contexts? And what is it about those people that connected? In a random way, not a detail. Is it something they do, something they look, how they look? Is it something they say? Is it their mannerisms? And when we're talking about exactly where, is there a particular place? Because it happens at work, but maybe it only happens in a particular office with one particular person. And it's the way they do look. We've had that issues, things like that before. And have I felt this way in different places? Well, are they the same people? Are they the same type of people? What type of people are they? So we just flipped all of that and flipped it back again. And then I thought, well, as we flip it back, what is it? No, I'll just go my notes. What did I say? How would you like to feel instead? Just randomly, nothing heavy. Just say, how would I like to feel? Or how would I like those contexts to be? Would I like to change the context? Or how would I like to be in that particular context, different to what I am? Forget how I am. What would be a suitable, appropriate way to feel? Maybe what type of behaviours would I like to have? Maybe there's something I'd like to be able to access. Sometimes maybe it could be an emotion, or it could be a skill of being aware, maybe connecting, maybe just being, as we say, aligned with being who we are, maybe being that little bit vulnerable in a nice way. I thought, just think about that. And how long would that have to be in that feeling to learn from it? What would have happened in the past if I'd have been this way? And you only have to think little bits, but we're getting a little deeper. Can you see how we're getting a little deeper with this now? Now we've got to flip it again. And when we flip it, I thought, well, what's the difference between the first one? I've called it hash one. And you're thinking, what is hash one? What is the first one? Oh, is that it? And that issue is now starting to get a bit blurry, I think. So, what is the difference between how it is or was and how I want it to be? And really, then you get a little bit more detail. You go, well, what's the difference between that internal representation? I have a little screen on my head, or in my head. So what's that little movie screen on my head? What's the difference? What's the different type of pictures I'm making? Is one darker? Is one bigger? Is one more of a movie? Is one jutted? Just get an idea of what the difference is. What's the difference with maybe my voice? What's the difference with that internal voice between one and how I like it to be? And all we're doing is noticing the differences. What would it be like? Maybe there's a taste and smell that's different. A difference, rather. Now, you might say, well, there's nothing to that, but think about it. Maybe if there was, when you're looking in your environment, sometimes things like having a little burner, an incense burner, just stick, or fresh air. Different. That now takes it into a different context. What's the difference in that context? Well, there's now fresh air there. Maybe there's a smell of flowers, fauna and flora, whatever. And then notice the difference between the feelings. And the feelings can be emotional, Well, this one's I'm more confident and happy. This one I wasn't, so there's a difference. But where's the difference in your body? Well, that one was down here. This one's over here. And if you can go, when we start to go from one to the other, to noticing the difference, we're now in control again. And knowing that, well, if I can go from negative to positive, call it, if that's what we're going to call it, I'm in control, aren't I? I thought, whoa, now we've got into control about our feelings. The way we are, we can now maybe think about that issue in a different way. And then I thought to myself, well, go back to the beginning, Paul, because we're getting more detail now. What's the intention of the issue? And that's sometimes where we might want to stop and pause a little bit and just, but now because we've gone backwards and forwards, I think it's like your unconscious mind will be going, oh, I know. And it's going to be things like safety. But safety, what particular purpose is that safety? Well, I don't want you to be embarrassed. I don't want you to feel guilty. I don't want you to feel a fool or whatever it might be. And how do I feel? Well, I feel a fool. I feel guilty. I feel frightened or whatever. So there's a conflict going on. This is my conflict. Unconscious mind, intention, and the behavior. And the behaviors aren't working. And then you go, well, what would be the intention of doing it the second way, the way I want it to be? Or would I get that first intention the way I want it to be? You know, if it was to keep me safe, for example, when I'm doing those particular type of things with all these new ways, these new feelings, these new ways of looking at the world, my internal representations, my feelings, my taste and smell, my beliefs. What belief is the difference in beliefs? That's the other thing we miss. What's the difference in beliefs? What belief have I there? I'm not safe. I'm scared. And I'm a failure. What belief have I got over here in number 2? It's going to be things like, I'm okay. It doesn't always be, I'm confident. No, it's, I'm okay. This is okay. I can do this. It's those type of subtle beliefs. And you go, well, okay, now if I had that belief in number 2, when I'm doing it the way I want it, in the context of it as I want it, with the feelings, with those people, would I still have that intention? Or would that intention still be there? Such as, would I feel safe? Would I be safe? Well, actually I would, because I'd be feeling pretty awesome. Or would I be feeling, if it was the difference from a failure, a success? Would I be feeling successful in myself? Yeah, I actually would. If it was, I feel stupid, then maybe another one we have. You get, well, would I feel good in myself? Because if I'm good in myself and I know what I'm doing, I'm not stupid. Would I be making a connection maybe? And when I'm making that connection, would I be true to myself? When I'm true to myself, none of those old negative beliefs can exist because they wouldn't be aligned with who you really are. And then all you have to do, maybe, is say to your unconscious mind, how can I get from the old one to have here? So the intention stays the same. What do I need to learn? And one of the questions, and there's 2 I thought would be pretty good, pretty useful, pretty appropriate to say to yourself in order to have that second way, the way that I feel comfortable, the way I feel a positive belief, the way I am fully aligned with who I want to be and where I'm going and my desires and my goals and my dreams. And also with that positive intention, you ask 2 questions inside and you're really saying it to your unconscious mind. The question is, what am I not doing that if I began doing it right now would allow me to have this? So what am I not doing that if I started doing right now would allow me to have this? And what am I doing in number 1 that if I stopped doing would allow me to have number 2, the way I want to be, when I'm truly aligned, when I'm feeling safe and comfortable? And sometimes it's a matter of just letting that go in. You can consciously think of that if you wish. What am I doing over there that I need to stop doing? Sometimes it may be, well, you just need to breathe a little bit. Maybe just remember those good times. Remember the times that you've done before. Just make sure things are in order. And then, what am I not doing It's over there that if I stop doing would allow this to happen. And that's sometimes when you just let it go, or you notice as you go through your days, you notice things are changing and it becomes a new norm. Which again, I remember someone saying that they don't remember those issues sometimes, because when you're in the when you're doing this new stuff, and this new stuff becomes the norm, you sometimes have to ask other people for feedback. You say, have you noticed me being different around that type of context, that type of person? Have you noticed me? Have you noticed anything changing in me in general? And that's when you get that gratification that the change has happened, because your new norm doesn't have all that old stuff. So the new norm is completely different. So it's sometimes very difficult to think back, and you don't particularly want to. So just ask, have you noticed a difference? And they'll tell you positives. Yeah, I think you've been totally, relaxed. I do love the way you've been speaking. Or you've been moving in a different way. You've been a pleasure to be around. I've noticed you just seem more confident as you in yourself. I've noticed you've been more successful in doing that stuff. I've noticed you're being a lot neater, Paul. But it just makes a difference. And I thought, and this has all come from looking at things differently. But it also comes a little bit like with Dean, is if you just look at this situation differently, using and keeping your eye out for different things that are happening that are seemingly completely different to what you're doing. And they could be in the positive way. There's something you're really enjoying, you're doing, and you see something else. I wonder what is in that different thing. Another interest that I have, that if I took some of the skills from that, it would enhance, make it even richer, the experience of this other stuff I'm doing. So it's like cross-fertilization, I think, of using different skills, because it's a little bit like, I guess the way I explain NLP sometimes is, sometimes when we're really in the flow, we have our filters, we have distortion, deletion and generalization, but we have those with all our attitudes and experiences of life, our values and beliefs. And they're like a set of filters. And when the world comes into us and we're feeling in the flow because we've got this wonderful set of filters here. And then something happens, those filters change. And I tend to say, well, if we've got these wonderful filters here in the flow, why can't we use it when those triggers happen? Because we're in a good state. And that state, would it be better to have that type of state than the other state? And absolutely. Well, if that is absolutely better, that's the state to look for. So look in your life. What are you doing in different areas of your life that you could use in a different area of your life, if that makes sense? So what could you use? I'm just looking at Karen's example. How could you use things like the harmony and observation to help exercise or health? What could you use from your skill of heart-to-heart relationships to being kind and gentle? When you start doing that, both of them get richer, because you can take, being kind and gentle, what type of beliefs do I have? When I'm looking through the world with kind and gentle on my mind, what belief do I have? What type of filters have I got? And if I used those type of filters of being kind and gentle, how would that be in relationships? I can also say, what would it be like with my exercise and health? Because sometimes we go, and we start berating ourselves because maybe we didn't exercise enough, we didn't push ourselves enough, or I didn't eat the right food this afternoon, or And if you had gentle eyes, kind and gentle thoughts to yourself, how different would that be? That just came to me. And I'm thinking, let's see if there's another one there. I mean, how would things like being kind I love the words kind and gentle, and observing rather reaction, the skills of doing that. When you look at the old thing of retirement, that stumbling block that you had, how would you look at the world now when you have kind and gentle thoughts, beliefs and feelings, and you're observing, the skill of observation? Because I think, isn't that thing, kind, what do we say? I just want to make sure I get it. Kind and gentle and observing. Isn't that what we're doing when we're stopping pausing and breathing and going into that feeling just to acknowledge it, to be aware of it. If you look at it, feel it, or sense it, it's a better way to sense it because we've got all our senses. If you were to sense that, become aware of it with a kind, gentle observation, you're curious. Wouldn't you learn so much more? Wouldn't you be open to more? Wouldn't you, I think, you would get so much more out of just being around that issue. The issue would change because you're coming from such a wonderful perspective, but you're also coming from a place of wonderful resources. Because when you have that, the belief is this too will pass. It's okay. We'll get there. Isn't that the type of words people would say with a kind, gentle observation? Yeah, we'll get there. Well, how could we get this in a better way? I wonder what the intention is. Now, can you notice? I try to put myself into that state and my voice has changed. Hasn't that got softer? And that is the weird thing when you know, that's just changing your state. And I think if I was to have those type of things when I'm making my notes, maybe that's something I'm going to, I hate that word, canoe. Maybe that's something I'm going to start to think about my state, being observant, kind and gentle. Maybe that's something I'm not too used to, being kind and gentle. Maybe too much information, Paul. Not really, yes. Maybe no. But certainly it's coming from how we can learn from other people, from a different context. I hope you found that interesting. Hope you found that of use. And maybe, I've got a couple of maybes because time's running out now. Maybe on my next live call, which won't be till March now, because Joseph is going to be next Saturday, we could do a process around this. And if we are, I'll give you a little heads up in the Facebook so you can come with a little issue that you may want to just develop. And notice how it just changes. Because I think this is another process. And this is the process, the one I've just talked about, going from A to B, A to B, A to B, 1 to 2, 1 to 2. I don't know of a process that does that in the NLP world. I'm sure there is. I don't believe I'm the genius that's just made that up. But I'm thinking, I bet there's not many. But it just seems to dissolve. The only one that I know of is one that we used to do, which is called scrambling the mind. And it was getting someone to scramble their mind to such an extent they couldn't really remember the issue too well, and they couldn't really remember the outcome. But the issue was so, well, I'm not sure anymore what the issue was. And when you really just scramble the mind on the issue, it's like taking a CD player and scratching it and scratching it and scratching it. And CD players don't exist. Do they exist anymore? But anyway, imagine something being scratched or rubbed out. Or if it's a book, that pen goes over and over and over. It's not the same. It's very hard to read. It gets to the point where it disappears. And that's what this does in some ways. So it's a little bit of a process from that way. But I don't think I've seen this done before. So maybe we'll do that next time. Let's see. So what did you think? When you think about your issue now, just in this conversation that you've gone through, is it different? How different? When you think about it, how's your feelings changed towards it? What are the pictures in your mind? How have they changed? How different is it? How much more positive are you? Just for a moment, maybe. Just stop and pause. We like that stopping and pausing. And just review where you are now. How different it is. And maybe wonder what would happen if you did it again, a little bit more deeply. Or maybe if I did do a hypnosis process on this, where would that go? Now, if you feel you'd like a hypnotic process recorded, you're going to have to let me know. But if you do, email me, feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. Just say, yes, please, Paul. And I'll crack one out for us. But I'll do it in a way that takes you through that process in a lovely, gentle, comfortable way so you get it at the unconscious level. Because that was a very much conscious, unconscious level. Yeah, I was talking to your conscious mind, and obviously your unconscious mind. But when I'm in hypnosis, we're really going at the deep hypnotic level, the deep unconscious level, where, well, that's where change occurs, isn't it? Because if you think about it, when you have an issue, you don't consciously wake up in the morning and decide to have that issue, do you? You don't decide to act in a particular way that doesn't feel good. So it must be unconscious. So where best to go? To the unconscious mind, your best friend. Anyway, have a think about that. Say all you've got to do is, well, send me one email. Hey, Paul, love to have that hypnotic process. Boom. feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. That's all there is. Anyway, if you like that, if you want to find more about Joseph, by the way, his main website is josephclough.com. They're all there. And if you want to find out about that rapid emotional release protocol and all the products that he has, go and have a listen. He's all the stuff is on the internet. He is profound on it. He's got multi-million downloads. So he's really good. And for his age, man, I don't think you'll find a better person. I know I'm his dad. But even if I wasn't, there's such good quality there. He's something special in this particular unique little niche. And he gets results. There you go. Have a look at that, josephclough.com. And it's called the Rapid Release Protocol. Anyway, until the next time, my friend, I'm going to give you a quick outro. As usual, I'm also going to give you a reminder of, well, a previous podcast. Something that will make you think, oh, that'll be interesting, Cluffy. I'll go back and have a look. I'll go back and have a listen, maybe. And enjoy. Enjoy with my compliments. And then there'll be a little bit more, okay? So, stay with me now. Just have a listen. Here's your heads up to what was going to be a 5-minute quickie that's turned out to be, well, over half an hour of giving you ways to get your own personal bests in every area of your life and then beat them. All you have to do is find your competition and use them. Let them be your guide. Have a listen. So that was the intro, the heads up to, well, the episode number #141. And it was called Accept Your Excuses and Find Your Competition. And I think you'll find there's some really good stuff in there too. In fact, there is in all the back catalogue of the episodes here at Personal Development Unplugged. But anyway, that's one you could go and dive into right now. So again, it's #141, Accept Your Excuses and Find Your Competition. And now, just before you go, I know your time is really valuable, and well, it's a real pleasure to have your company and your time. Now, don't take it lightly. But if you would, you know what I'm going to say. Pay it forward. Pay it forward in a way that if you just share this podcast, tell people about the Personal Development Unplugged podcast. Tell them about me if you would. Or what you gain out of this, those golden nuggets, so we can share all the good stuff that we have here and make this podcast a little bit more popular. But not just for being popular's sake, but because it will help change people's lives. I know it does. From the feedback I get, I know this changes lives. The work that we do here, our conversations. So if you would share it, be awesome. And remember to subscribe. Just subscribe on that whatever platform you listen to, and if you could, a little review. But hey, that's probably a bit too much to ask. If you could share. But also one very last thing. Obviously you got the hypnosis tracks. They're like this. So the 90 seconds of hypnosis tracks. Why have I put hypnosis tracks on a separate website? Well, it's so simple really. I wanted you to have them all in one place so you can look through them all. You can find the particular one you want. I've even made them downloadable so you can put them on any of your playing devices that you prefer. You don't need Wi-Fi, you don't need the iTunes or whatever. You can put them anywhere you like. You can even burn them onto disk if you want. Where'd you get them? Well, there you go. I told you, it's paulcloughonline.com/podcast. If you're worried about your email address, please don't be, because they stay totally safe with me. I only use them to send you out that email and give you access. Simple as that. I send you a link, a special link, so you and only you can access those hypnosis tracks, because I want them just for you. And the other thing about this is you've taken responsibility. I don't want to make these open to everyone, just random. You have taken responsibility to listen and be part of this community of personal development. And I want to help you. I want to help you personally to get your dreams, your goals, and therefore I'm giving you these tools, these protocols, these paradigms, whatever you want to call them, but in deep hypnosis. So just enjoy. Have more fun than you can stand with hypnosis. Yeah, that was about the hypnosis tracks. Where'd you get them? As I said, paulcloughonline.com/podcast. And also, while you're there, just forget the bit about the podcast and have a look at paulcloughonline.com. All my programs are there. The programs are there for you. Money back guarantee. There's at least a 30-day money back guarantee, and none of the programs last more than 15 days. So therefore you can try them, make sure they're right for you, make sure you get the results, and if you don't, hey, you've got nothing to lose. Only, as I say, your unconfidence or any low self-esteem. Hey, to me it's a no-brainer. So join other people and take advantage of that. And hopefully there's a discount, that massive discount still there. If it is, just put down LOCKDOWN, LOCKDOWN, as the special coupon word, as it were, when you go to checkout. Okay? I think it's either 70 or 75% discount, which makes it a steal, a bargain, and all that stuff. Anyway, until the next time, my friend, I'll be with you with even more, better, gooder stuff. Enjoy every heartbeat. Bye-bye now.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.